Right, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. If you would all take your seats, let's do it as it's outlined on the map. So Dr. Badr will have you here, and Fardan will have you here, and Christophe at the end, that's perfect. And on this side,
you're here.
Kees, you go there. So, ladies and gentlemen, it would take too long to give everybody an individual introduction, but I will just introduce this guy who's sitting here in the middle with me.
Okay.
This is Kees Hartzuiker, who is, in a sense, operating as a sort of reality check guy, listening to the two sides of this conversation between the owners and the operators. Kees is the CEO of Roya International, which, of course, is a big player in this industry, offering management and advisory and consultancy services. So, in a sense, you don't exactly have a dog in the fight, although I suppose...
I'm a bit more on their side.
You're a bit more on their side. Okay, well,
today I'm in the middle.
Exactly. So, let's chew this over. I'm a guy who loves a fight, frankly, a sort of rhetorical fight, but we're not doing that today. Our overarching theme this year is about being synchronized for success. So my first question to you guys in your different capacities is whether you feel things are evolving, that owners and operators are, to a certain extent, becoming more aligned or appreciating each other's challenges and problems in a more enlightened way. So let's kick that off. Let's start with you, Dr. Badr, representing Dur Hospitality. And what's your take? Are things improving?
Yes. Well, Dur, we are in a particular situation where we are owners and operators at the same time. At this particular moment in time, I think things are becoming more heated. And I think you like that.
I'm thrilled.
Yes.
Heat for the next 30 minutes is exactly what I'm looking for. Why are they becoming more heated? Because you could say, in another way of putting it, you're saying they're becoming worse. The tensions are rising.
More tension because the market is becoming more difficult. It's just natural. When the markets were smooth, we're getting our bottom line, everybody was happy. But now we're scrutinizing. Why aren't we selling? Why is the F&B working? Where's the guest? What's your system contribution? We're becoming extremely critical and looking at all the KPIs, making sure that we're getting what we're paying for. We're paying fees, and we expect returns. Right.
Let's start at the beginning. I mean, you sign contracts with operators. There's a big debate in this industry about where the leverage lies, who really has the power when these contracts are drawn up. And it seems in the past there's been a feeling that the contracts have favored the operators time and again in terms of the duration, in terms of the get-out clauses, in terms of the meeting of targets and what the ramifications if you don't meet targets. The contract is in their interest, not in your interest. Is that still the case?
Whenever we get the contract out of the drawer, that's the end of the relationship. That's our opinion. So we really don't look into the nitty-gritty of what's in the contract. There are some general expectations that we expect out of the operator, and that is to make the hotel work at least better than average. And that's what we hold the operator to. We have had very good cases where the operator did not make the minimum required and we did not pay them their fees. So we were very happy we saved their fees for a few years. So we are okay with that.
So you're saying a failure to perform can lead to the tearing up of a contract? Because
we haven't reached that stage yet, but can.
Right. Other owners, representing owners, Dr. Badr's suggesting contracts aren't perhaps as big a problem as I thought. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Dr. Badr. As soon as you get out the contract of the draw, it's getting really, really bad. So generally what we try to do is to understand each other and to find a solution to the problem we have. And generally we find a solution of those problems. But what we're referring to actually is during tough time, like we are going through at the moment, I would say the owner is really paying the cost of it, much more than the operator is paying the cost of it.
How come? You mean you're taking the pain and they're not?
Well, you know, the operator don't invest. So whatever happen, if they earn less, but they don't lose money. When a project is not going so well, owner is losing money.
Sounds like you guys are in a great business where you get all the upsides and very little of the downside. When times are tough, and we've heard other data crunchers telling us that times are actually, in this region in particular, quite tough right now. Arguably, there's an oversupply in certain areas. Margins are down, margins are being squeezed. But you guys, you're all smiling happily and you're not taking the pain.
This is where you need really great brand and great people that can deliver the profit. Because it doesn't mean if the revenue is not there, we don't have solution to really drop bottom line. And yes, we lose less, but we lose as well. Yeah. We have skin in the game. The contract have changed dramatically. We don't have legacy contract that we used to have in the past. And today a contract, I think it's much more balanced than it used to be before, for the good thing. And crises like today forces us together to find solution, to be creative, put us on our toes.
All right, I'm going to bring in my reality check guy for the first time. Is it true, as Pascal says, that contracts have fundamentally changed in recent years and are much more balanced in terms of the interests of both sides?
No, not at all. But there's definitely a shift. Things that we were looking for 2-3 years ago were, let's call it, laughed at. Now they're being entertained. So Pascal is absolutely right.
What kind of things?
You cannot call it a shift.
All right, well, let's go into the detail. What kind of things would have been laughed at a couple of years ago that are more realistic today?
Okay, the fundamental thing is that everyone agrees a contract belongs in the bottom drawer. But reality in life is it will come out at some stage. Yeah. So we cannot ignore it. And the fundamental problem still is that the agreements are very long. And what the definition of long is in the past, yes, 25, 30 years versus now a shorter period, they're still long.
What's the average period now?
Now I would say 15.
And will everybody agree on both sides of this?
Yes.
And do both sides agree that 15 is a much better duration than a 25 or 30?
But it depends what we're talking about. Because if you talk about an upscale luxury hotel, 15 years is very short, actually, because the brand needs to be established, and it takes time. But if you talk about, let's say, on the low end of the scale, about economy and mid-scale, 15 years is too long. It has to be 5 years or 6 years, very short time.
But as an operator, you cannot really hide between.
I'll tell you what, guys. I need everybody to put their mouthpieces very close to their mouths, because I'm worried some people won't be able to hear.
You hear me?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Whoa, yo, there we go.
There you go. As an operator, you cannot hide between the length of your agreement, because at the end of the day, you need to prove yourself on a daily basis and on an annual basis. I think management agreements in this part of the world have changed. They're very different from what you see in Europe and in the US. I think from an operator perspective, they're still quite generous overall. But it is changing, also due to the changing nature of the market. But I think what we need to look at is the alignment of interests. And some agreements really disalign interests between owner and operator. At the end of the day, it's about an investment that needs to generate a return. So it's about bottom line. And the operator's remit is to maximize the bottom line of his or her owner, right? And it's as simple as that. And where controversies arise, it's when, when interests are disaligned. Sometimes there's a tremendous focus towards revenue, because when you look at how management agreements sometimes are built, there's an incentive towards the operator to generate revenues rather than profit. Revenue is important, we agree on that, right? Without revenue, we're nowhere. But at the end of the day, what an owner wants is profit. It's a return on every square meter that he has invested in the real estate, and this is what the operator has to deliver.
Just an additional comment. We work in such a cyclical industry.
Yeah, again, Mark, just put your, and I should introduce, for those of you who've forgotten the opening credits, this is Mark Willis, who's CEO for Mideast and Africa at Accor Hotels. Go on, Mark.
Is that better?
Perfect.
We work in such a cyclical industry, and we are all very aware of that. And just to comment on a couple of points, we're using the word tension. I think that's overstated. We're in a long-term partnership together in order to achieve both our goals, regardless of which side of the contract that you sit. And you need to work through those periods of cyclical highs and lows with that owner. And just coming back to the context of the contracts, as Kees knows very well, the contracts have changed over the last 10 to 15 years with regards to length of contract, the various performance clauses that have been added, et cetera, et cetera. I think they're fundamental changes.
Yeah, well, Kees, do you accept that? And you were saying, you know, things that would have been laughed at a few years ago are no longer laughed at, and we got into contracts, and then I rudely interrupted you. So are there other ways in which you see change?
Look, the length of the contract, let's call a spade a spade. For the management company, it represents the value of the management fees times the number of years, so they're obviously not very keen on shortening it. There's a way of solving that by getting other get-out clauses then. The problem is the operators understandably don't like that because that shortens again the value of the contract if it's not a secured one. So the other key problem is the performance test. And the traditional one, and absolutely that is changing right now, but till a few years it was the 2 times 2 effect, which meant you had to fail 2 different criteria 2 years in a row.
You had to screw up
Be a mathematician. No, you have to screw up twice in 2 years in a row.
I see.
So
two consecutive years.
Give it to a mathematician, and he will give you the probability.
So you mean it was almost impossible to screw up badly enough?
How many hotels have been lost in the region on that basis? Almost none. So
anybody got any personal experience of losing a contract because of screwing up so badly, so repeatedly?
No.
No, so maybe it's impossible. Maybe it's a ridiculous way.
Or
it's not only that.
Or perhaps you just work together with your partner over a long-term period of time, trying to achieve a common goal. Again, I think we're trying to put too much of a negative slant on what is, for the most part, a positive relationship. And reference to that is the amount of contracts, not least in this area, Middle East, where you see this continuous re-signing of contracts. And if I look at my own organization, that has been extremely positive, which doesn't prove reference to, okay, we're waiting to the end of the 20-year agreement to exit this contract.
But the key word is really relationship. And I think the region has evolved also. When you sign a management agreement with a hotel operator, you're not just handing over the hotel and let the operator work, right, without any kind of communication and sharing of ideas. So in an ideal environment, and we at Emaar, we are a relatively new operator for a third-party owner. As you know, we sold 5 hotels to ADNH. And we set up a structure where we meet on a monthly basis, discuss the results, look at room for improvement, opportunities, etc. And it's a very collaborative exchange. And we all win from that. I mean, I don't want to draw a rosy picture, but this is the ideal world of a management agreement.
Well, you are drawing quite a rosy picture, and I can't remember which of you made it, but this point, I'm going to throw it back to the owners. The point, look, these guys, the operators, are saying the system does work, and the proof of the system working is that owners are happy to renew contracts. You know, they don't even sometimes wait for the end of a contract to look into renewing it because they're so happy with the partnership they've got with the operator. They don't go out to a rival, a competitor. They tend to stay with who they've come to trust and know well. If that's true, surely that's proof that the relationship is positive.
Sure. Actually, if I can answer on that question on our behalf or my involvement. Contracts are being renewed, but with different clauses. So the clauses that were there in the past are not the same clauses that we renew on.
Right.
I think there was a gap between the knowledge of the owners and the operators 10, 15 years ago. The gap actually decreased today. And
do you mean in the past they were able to outfox you, but these days you understand the business better and you're
Yes, it's just understanding the business better, involving being involved in operations, and seeing where the money can be made, where the money can be saved. Actually, is the new kind of contracts. It's not the same contracts that were signed 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
In the same time, we see all the operators are actually cooperating in that manner. Some operators that, for example, in a company I'm involved in, that we wanted to terminate with, actually came back to us with a franchise model, which they will never actually have done it 10 years ago or so.
Right. Well, that's interesting. I want to get to franchising because it seems in this region there is talk of it becoming a much more important element to the hotel and hospitality industry. What impact is franchising going to have on this key relationship that we're talking about?
It's a good thing. I mean, an hotel is an hotel. That's the most important, and there is an owner that needs his return. whatever model we bring, manage or franchise, is right. It has to be at the right time with the right partner that has the capability. But it's logical that franchise is coming into play now because the market is maturing. People have learned owning company have more resources. They understand what does it take. And as soon as we feel comfortable that there are enough resources and know-how behind the owners, we have no issue giving the franchise. Of course, sometimes we have to go on a journey. We have very often contracts when we start with a manage, we set up the hotel for success, and then we have a transition period when we can give some more empowerment to the owners than to bring him to the franchise business. So for us, having our brand on hotels, developing the network of our brands, making sure that owners have a great return on their investment, no matter what the type of contract we have, manage or franchise. Majority of franchise was in this region because we were coming from an emerging market. But today, the UAE, even in Saudi Arabia, we start having more capability from the owner side. Perfect. It will allow us to even grow faster.
Just one thing. You don't have to, as an owner, you don't have to operate a hotel yourself if you decide to separate branding from operations, right? And this is, from an owner's perspective, I believe it's good news because that really brings a totally new option on the table, which is very frequent in the US and is growing a lot in Europe, where an owner today can hire a management company that comes without a brand. So you can really decide, well, I'm going to take a strong brand from one of the global players, but I decide to have someone else who doesn't have an affiliation with that brand have that company manage my hotel.
Hang on.
Because in the past, that option did not exist in this part of the world.
I'm just wondering what you guys do anymore. You know, all you really are going to represent in the future as franchising becomes more and more prevalent, you're just a sort of badge and a brand name, but you're not actually really, I mean, you're still taking a cut, but you're not really doing very much.
No, they do.
No, but 80% of our business in the world is franchise, for example.
So this is the dream business. You do absolutely, excuse my English, sod all, and yet you still get, great.
No, but the principle of franchise is bringing a brand that delivers results. And in our business, the most important is revenue. Yes, cost is important for the bottom line.
Okay.
But without the quality revenue, and you know, there's someone we don't put in the equation, is the guest, because the guest has choice, and they can choose the brand they want.
I need to get to my reality check, guy.
Yeah.
Are these guys for real? You know, okay, so they represent Emaar, IHG, Accor. Are these brands so important, so powerful, that they deserve this place where they, you know, they sort of suck in profit and yet they franchise out the actual day-to-day running of the hotels to somebody else? Is that sustainable from your point of view?
Look, first let's celebrate progress. So it's great to have finally in the Middle East to give the owners another business model. You know, the US, I think it's 85% is franchise, 50 plus Europe. Here it's 4%. 4.
And but it's obviously going to rise.
But now, the last, I would say, 18 months, it's sort of the talk of the town, right? Yeah. So that's the good thing.
Right.
Look at it from an operator point of view. They take virtually the same fees on the franchise, about 4% of rooms revenue, whilst on a management agreement, they take about 5% of total revenue. So actually, they can do their job, almost earn the same without all the headaches.
It's dreamland.
And that is probably why it has progressed so far in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
The CEO of Accor yesterday, in his connection, made it very clear. He sees as his responsibility, and I think what he said was spot on, is the brand, the experience, the systems, the technology, and all of that, but the running has to be done on the ground in the area or arguably in the hotel itself. So you could argue that the franchise is therefore, in many cases, a good solution, because if the running has to be done anyway, if you're paying for the GM, you're paying for all the people, why do you then, on top of that, restrict yourself in maybe to be able to influence it? So take the best of both worlds. So now we should celebrate that we have this opportunity come to the Middle East.
Right. Are you guys celebrating the rise and the spread of franchising?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the previous question was, when the operator has a brand and the management, it's quite difficult to get out of it, because you might lose the brand as you lose the management.
Right.
So if you have the brand is very good. Most of the brands are extremely good, actually, according to the market positioning. Sometimes it's the management who doesn't go well, for different reasons. When you sign a contract for 20 years, so many things will happen during 20 years. Change of direction, merger, acquisition, whatever. People change as well. So a relationship you have developed with someone 20 years ago will evolve. So if you're stuck with that contract, because that had changed to the bad for the owner, you're stuck. So I would agree totally. The franchise system, whereby you sign 2 contracts with franchise and a management contract, either with the operator or third-party operator or yourself, I think it's a good way to do it. Also, just to finish on this one, 20 years ago, when you were coming in the Gulf with a hotel, you need the brand to be still valid, to be different from a local hotel. You needed the distribution channel as well to be distributed. It's less and less true now because the OLT are taking over. But more importantly, now the resources and the competencies are here local that we don't have 20 years ago. And even better, actually, because we find people who speak Arabic on top of that. So the franchise model, depending on the hotel, like, for example, economy lodging or mid-scale or upscale, I think it works very well. Maybe not so well for luxury hotel, of course. It's more sophisticated. It requires much more know-how.
Right.
Yeah.
But
we, as an operator and owner, we have particular strength in ownership. And sometimes we feel that we need to take things matters in our own hand. When we see that hotel is not performing, we switch from management to franchise.
Right.
And in some cases, we see uplift in performance.
But you can't do that if you've got a contract which talks about the operator-manager.
Exactly. But when you come to terms when the operator cannot fulfill the contract, yeah,
but then we come to the 2x2 thing where it's so hard to prove that the operator is actually failing.
But you have other clauses. It's not only the 2x2. Sometimes you have owner priority. And so there are other ways of managing the performance of the operator. Sometimes it could be mutual. You could discuss with the operator going from management to franchise to franchise.
Right.
So it could be amicable. It doesn't have to be by force.
Okay.
There's a portrayal of, or a desire to portray some kind of constant negativity.
Yeah, you don't like that,
between owner and operator.
No.
Well, it's not that I don't like it. It's simply not a reality.
Ah.
Is it all rosy? Just coming back to what Olivier said, absolutely not. Especially in such a time as we're experiencing at the moment, where not there's increased tension, there's increased pressure with regards to debt service, etc. And that, yes, brings its tensions. But at the end of the day, you have a long-time relationship with a partner. You hope that it goes forward in a positive fashion. I don't think it's all negative. Otherwise, it wouldn't be working the way that it is. There's a lot of hotels in Dubai, as an example, in this downturn of a market versus the previous 3 years, that are performing very well in this current climate with a branded hotel over the door. And I wonder how the non-branded hotels are competing in that same marketplace.
Right.
You know very well that with or without contracts, if people want to really stop their relationship, they can. So beyond the contract. So really the contract, and we talk about a lot of time on it, but at the end of the day, I agree. It's about the partnership we have with the owner. How do we keep each other informed of where we are, what we are doing, what is the situation in front of us, how do we anticipate, what option do we take, and common. Because sometimes we need the owners to invest in some part of the hotel to try to generate a better revenue. Sometimes we need more robotic or more technology into the hotel to really cater for a very specific market that we don't have, and so on and so forth. So this consistent dialogue, partnership, ensuring that the assets is producing what the owners expected is very important. And it's much more beyond the contract and the fees and so on. But the good thing about the new contract, the one that we've done the few years, and I think we should move on to that, they are much more balanced. And there is a lot in it for owners and operators as well to say, guys, it's not working, we can do something different.
Okay.
I want to just say for the record, just coming back to your point previously, I don't know about my colleagues, I never went to an owners meeting trying to outfox an owner. That is for sure.
Never.
Never, never. The thought of outfoxing an owner would never cross your mind. It's great to hear that, and I'm sure the audience is believing every word. Anyway.
But you know, also saying that the operator doesn't take any risk is not accurate neither, because operating a hotel and failing or having a dispute with an owner is a huge reputational damage that, as an operator, you incur, and of course you don't want that. I want to make one more point. The availability of options is critical, because let's face it, every owner is different, every hotel is different. In some cases, you will look for a brand, but you have the capacity as an owner to operate a hotel yourself. In another case, you might have a fantastic position, fantastic building. You don't need a brand, but you need an operator. So you have the ability to hire an operator who comes without a brand. So
right.
This approach that you have a menu of possible services that you can take is sensible. And also, we are evolving. You know, think about 50 years ago. We thought 50 years ago, I was not a hotelier at that time, but we thought that owning a hotel, operating a hotel, branding and distributing a hotel was all the same, on one hand. Then we learned that managing the value of an asset, of a building, and operating a hotel are two different businesses.
Yes.
And now we're evolving in a direction where we see that distributing a hotel, branding a hotel brand, and operating a hotel might also be two different
That's a very good way of putting it.
Business.
That, as a layman, that really helps me understand that sense of evolution. And key to where it goes next is the impact of online, I think. I mean, online has been so disruptive already and may well be more disruptive in the future. So I want now to get into that element of the debate, start with owners. Do you feel online perhaps in the long run undermines the importance and the power of the big brands that we see represented on this side of the fence?
Not the power of the brand, but for the hotel I know of, for the owner I represent, the distribution represents 80% for the OLTA and 20% from the brand, from the direct channels.
Right.
And that percentage has been increasing for years now to reach that point. So yes, I mean the owner, the operator is losing ground in terms of distribution channels. The brand is still there, it's still valid, but it might be booked by somebody else, OLTA or somebody else.
Yeah. And you want to get in at this point? Go on then.
Oh, yeah. Don't agree. Actually, the OTAs are fine. We need them. If I look at the cost of acquisition...
Well, just for the idiot layman in me, you're talking about the Expedias. And
yeah, the Booking.coms and all that. Everyone says, oh, we're paying such high commission. First of all, well done to the hotel companies. They finally clubbed together the last couple of years. And first of all, those commissions are coming down. But what has been their main trick? Their main trick is sign up, become a loyalty member, and then I can escape the rate parity. Guess what? There's a cost of acquisition to those loyalty members that is largely paid by the operational P&L. So when I actually look at the rate that is coming in through the, let's say, an OTA, Booking.com, and I take off their commission, I take then the rate that comes directly through the .com, but take off their expense for X percentage of the spend that is being taken, guess what? You come at the same number, or actually in some cases, you're better off with the OTA. Secondly, there's hotels that thought, oh, I removed the brand and I can rely on the OTAs. The moment they removed the brand, the OTA went down. Why? Because the OTA is still a search engine and people are still influenced by the brand. So don't take it as an enemy, embrace it and get the best out of it.
Okay.
Actually, we don't take it as an enemy. Actually, it's a benefit, the OTA. But I mean, the operator has to realize that the value he was given in terms of fees for the reservation has changed now. Okay, we understand we have less commission from the OLTA, negotiated by the big group, but the value proposition of the brand is lesser than it used to be 5 or 10 years ago.
Okay.
But it's, you know, the world has become more complex, and all this distribution has changed, and we were taken by surprise maybe 6, 7 years ago when it came in. But of course, we reacted, and we have invested in technology, and we have put systems in place which are really much more able today to really rebalance that. But the acquisition of guests is so important. The loyalty program, IHG World Club, for example, I mean, 60% of our guests that are staying in every hotel in the Middle East are IHG loyal members. Yeah, because they pay more, they stay more, they talk well about your hotel. They are taking the premium rooms in the hotel. The value that it brings on a total hotel, it's massive. Not only Of course, the OTAs are also great on the channel when we need them. So we need to manage this complexity, the level of revenue management, the level of technology, the level of people you need of the hotel to understand, and sometimes centralized services that we give to the hotel, because there is a lot of complexity out there. So we need to be, and only large group like us can really invest largely into technology, people, to bring the right level of revenue.
Right. We need to differentiate between customer acquisition and customer loyalty. And when it comes to acquisition, I believe that OTAs and hotel brands are partner, because no matter how big your brand is, you cannot reach the whole world. But when it comes to customer loyalty, this is where we as brands and as operators, we need to do our job to make sure that we retain a customer.
I know you love your customer loyalty programs, and you think they're terrific, and you want to persuade everybody.
It goes beyond that.
Huge added value. I get that, but we're running out of time, and there's a couple of specific points I want to get to before we finish. One, I'm actually surprised at the degree to which the conversations I'm hearing outside of the stage are quite downbeat about the short and medium-term prospects in this region. There's worries about squeezed margins, there's worries about oversupply of hotel rooms, frankly, and too much construction in the pipeline, from Dubai to even Ras Al Khaimah. We heard His Highness talking about, he wants 3 million visitors within the next 5 or 6 years from 1 million. I mean, this is huge ambition, but I'm just wondering whether, both from the side of owners and operators, whether there is the ability to work together, to be in sync about the strategic overview of what is the right kind of development, and whether there's a danger, if you don't get in sync, there will be overdevelopment, which ultimately will harm you both.
Absolutely, this is where brand comes into play. I mean, the market has been really very much into the luxury segment, and there is a disproportion when you think that luxury is 5% of the overall business in the world. So the mid-scale hotel, like a Holiday Inn or other brand, can really, really bring a very different type of customer, different rate, different cost, and different profitability. The long-stay market is an amazing opportunity in this region as well.
And are you good as operators at talking with owners about the right kind of development, hitting the right niche in the marketplace? And are you guys happy with the sort of relationship you have in terms of planning for the future?
See, actually, as hotel owners, what we like to have conversations with the operators. But what we are actually realizing in such a situation, for example, in Dubai, where we have majority of our rooms, is that how can an operator share the pain? So operators usually share the gain with you, but how can they share the pain?
They say they do share the pain.
Yeah, I mean they do actually. The operator generally are very professional in what they are doing, and they can allocate and target an area with an appropriate brand. The problem is not really there. I think owners are suffering as soon as a big group is merging with another big group. Because they're so busy to incorporate that group that during those months, the resources are not there. That used to be there before. So every time
you think there's too much merger and acquisition going on, and that it damages your interests?
I'm not saying I don't know if it's too much, but what I'm saying is during the incorporation of that merger, the owner is suffering because the resources that used to be there are not there anymore.
I think, just to make a comment on that one, since from an Accor perspective, we've invariably done a number of merger and acquisitions over the recent years. There have been a lot, especially in recent times. But as an organization, from an Accor perspective, we've preempted that. It's not something that happens overnight. It's usually 9 to 12 months in advance. And as you know, only too well, we've revised structures, improved the way that we interact with owners and interact with the hotels, put more resources on the ground. I think it's been done in a proactive fashion. A merger and acquisition is not something that's done overnight and not well thought through.
All right, we're almost out of time. Badr, did you want to pick up?
I just want to say that in cases of overdevelopment, like what's happening right now in Saudi, in the UAE, as I hear, it's the owner that suffers most. even as the good intentions we hear and the good feelings we hear from the operators, ultimately it's the person who put the money on the ground is the one who suffered the most. Operators are very happy to sign up the hotel next door, even if it's oversupply, even if it's not going to fill up. So that's something that really needs to be balanced.
Right, okay.
But you can't blame the operator for that, right?
Well,
the developer decides to develop a hotel.
That's true. You can't really blame the operator for that.
And he can choose wherever he wants to operate.
You can ask the question of whether before the plan was hatched and finalized, whether there was a real meaningful discussion between both sides to get the kind of development right. That was what I was driving at. But we've run out of time. There's a big zero here telling us we're out of time. So, Kees, you were my reality check guy. I just want to, do you think, having heard this conversation, and denials from the operators of attempts to outfox the owners, and the owners saying that disproportionately they still get too much of the pain and not enough of the gain, give us your reality check overview. Is the relationship between owners and operators evolving and improving as you see it today?
Absolutely. As I said 2-3 years ago, very different from today. There's always been, by the way, very cordial. Hoteliers by nature are cordial individuals, so we've never really had an issue with face-to-face kind of relationships and all of that.
No fist fights? No.
It's just when, unfortunately, there sometimes comes a point where things do have to get hard, and that's when then the agreement or so comes out. But I agree with everyone. As long as we make sure that we are, what was the theme of the synchronized?
Synchronized for success.
I think the operators are far more open right now to look at different models. They have more choices, particularly if you look at the acquisitions, from lifestyle to extended stay and etc. And I think the owners are no longer, I want something bigger than the guy next door. They're making much smarter investments.
They're being smarter.
As well. So I think we're in a much better place today, but we're still not where we need to be.
If you weren't in the hotel business, you should be in the diplomacy business. That was the most diplomatic conclusion and roundup I've ever heard.
All right.
Magnificent.
Do I take that as a compliment? Not really.
Well, take it any way you want. I thought it was rather impressive. All right, I'm going to have to get you all off the stage now. So, ladies and gentlemen, give our owners and our operators and Kees a very warm thank you. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And good luck with all of your respective businesses.